You're listening to the Intuitive Strength Podcast, and I'm your host, Brie Ogletree. I'm an online fitness coach teaching women how to use strength training and nutrition to build a body they love, but I'm also a strong believer in holistic wellness, which includes all aspects of your life. While this podcast is heavily focused on fitness and nutrition, we'll also dive into other topics that attribute to total wellness to include mental health, financial health, relationships, and stress management, to name a few. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, and welcome back to the show. If you're new here, welcome to the Intuitive Strength Podcast. This episode is a very special episode because I recently interviewed one of my former students of Lifting Confidence, and she graciously shared her experience about the program, kind of what she expected or what she was thinking going into the program, and then some of her biggest takeaways that she got from going through my 8-week Lifting Confidence program. So if you are thinking about joining or you just want to learn more about the program and kind of what to expect, this episode is going to be a great episode for you to tune into. She's going to share a lot about her experience. She's also going to share a lot about her background when it comes to lifting weights, when it comes to exercise, and again, some of the things that she learned going through the program. So I'm super excited to share this interview with you. Her name is Susan Balou. And without further ado, please enjoy this episode, this interview, this conversation with Susan Balou, a former Lifting Confidence student. All right, welcome back to the Intuitive Strength Podcast. I am here with a very special guest. Her name is Susan Balou, and she went through the first iteration of my program, Lifting Confidence. So she has graciously given us some of her time to talk about her experience with the program. And Susan, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Brie. It's great to be here. I'm really excited to be able to have this little chat with you today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to share you with everyone. I was on your podcast a couple weeks ago, so yeah,
Yes.
just happy to have you here. Just if you could just tell everyone kind of what your background is, maybe where you're from and what you do, whatever you'd like to share with the audience. Go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you. Oh my goodness, my background. I have a long background because I've been around for just a few years. But when it comes to kind of fitness and that type of thing, I've never been very fit. I started out as kind of the chubby kid when back in the era when there weren't a lot of chubby kids, and kind of progressed from there to when I hit puberty, the kid that really struggled with that and put on a lot of weight. And it's interesting looking back on that, Brie, because I was like just at a mile from school, like in middle school, and probably half a mile grade school. Always walked, always rode my bicycle, very, very active, and yet I was always overweight. But we always had a lot of really yummy foods that had a lot of the things that just pack the weight on me, looking back on it. And then after I was a nurse. I've been a nurse for like 40 years. I'm no longer practicing in my nursing field at this particular point. But I ended up at one of the places I worked, I ran into these ladies that loved to cross country ski. And at the time, I was living up in Oregon. And so I ended up starting to do that and absolutely loved it. And then was always a voracious bicycle rider, all of that stuff, and still always had weight issues, but loved to be active. And then eventually met my husband. We got married, had kids, and he was very, very athletic. He had been like a high level, national level athlete he was from Iran, and he competed like all the way up he was even on the Shaw's team, he was going to go for this, I think it was the 76 Asian Olympics or something like that. And then
Wow.
the Shaw's nephew came home and he wanted to run on it, and he had just a little bit faster time trials than my husband did. And so he didn't get to do it. But then my husband ended up officiating at it. So he was very high level.
Yeah.
it's incredible that we ended up together because I was never that. I was more like, I want to have fun when I'm doing this. So ultimately, though, I had kids and then went on birth control where I gained even more weight and it became more difficult. And I packed on weight to the point where it was really scary and then ended up like injuring myself and lots of issues. So ultimately, back in, I think it was 2007, I ended up having bariatric surgery, lost a big chunk of weight, and kept it off for a while. But then we moved from Oregon to Southern California, and I started working night shift, which was always something that didn't work well with me. And now that I understand more about the chemistry of stress hormones and I couldn't sleep. So lack of sleep, just a whole trifecta of stuff. And to stay awake, we would eat, nobody else wanted to be there either. And so people would bring like all the comfort foods and all of that. And I packed on a bunch of weight again, going back to all that type of eating. So that's kind of my weight issues and history. And then I had damaged my knee. There was a couple different things that I did. One was falling, doing downhill skiing when I was a kid, and then another time taking a tumble down our stairs later when the kids were little. And then the kind of the final straw was in an emergency in my labor and delivery. I hurt my knee quite a bit with that, but I've always kind of just worked with it. And then before losing my job that I lost this last fall due to downsizing and financial issues and stuff, I ended up switching out of, I've been for probably the last, I don't know, 5, 6 years away from the bedside. Actually, since 2013, I was away from the bedside. But we would have a really active job where we were still going and helping and supporting and all that kind of stuff. So still a lot of walking. And
Yeah.
then about the last 5 years, I started teaching, and it was computer. And of course, with all of the history over the last couple of years, exactly how much is Zoom and sitting and all of that kind of thing. And I found that doing 6, 7 hours of sitting and only maybe running for a restroom break and everything else was sitting, I get to the point I could barely walk down the street, like just making it half a block. My knee was terrible. So that's kind of my background with weight and fitness and all of that type of thing. So kind of a long answer, but
Yeah.
gives you a little bit of a foundation as to where I'm coming from.
Yeah. So would you say like your background in exercise is a lot of just physical activity? And then you said you were doing cross country skiing. Are you still doing it
No,
or
no, I live in
okay.
Texas right now. I'm not even close to hill country.
Okay.
No, in fact, and I don't even, because my knee got so bad, um, it's been a long time even since I've been confident enough to get on the bicycle. So
Okay.
we have a stationary bike in our gym, and I've worked with that off and on to try to get my knee back up, and get going again.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I became very much of a couch potato.
Okay. So, what about your experience with lifting weights prior to joining Lifting Confidence? Did you dabble with lifting weights? Did you have any experience before joining the program, or?
Years ago, I had dabbled with it, and it had more to do with like in high school, because one of my good friends wanted to do it, and it had more to do with that was one of the places where you could really find the boys.
Yeah, the weight room, right? That's funny.
And then later, when I was a cross country skier, um, the place that I met my husband, actually, he was in the physical therapy department in a long term care facility, and I was one of the nurses there. And I was always trying to get stronger. And so like the PT room had all kinds of things that we could go use on our breaks. And
Okay.
so I did stuff that way. And then he would show me, because of his background with his, he had a bachelor's in phys ed. And so he had all the kinesiology and all the stuff. So I always had somebody that could give me lots of instructions and help if I was willing to listen
Right.
to them.
It's always interesting, like, some the people who are closest to you, you're like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So I think I really didn't, this last year has just been a total redo, a total just everything upheaval. And as you know, in November, I suddenly lost him to a
Yeah.
medical emergency. And I think that's where I really started to wake up because, you take life for granted. And he was very still physically fit. He was 10 years older than me, and he was still the one. I mean, all the neighbors were like, oh, yeah, he was always on his bike and riding around and running. And he was still physically fit.
Yeah.
And I started realizing that it was really, really hard on the grandkids in particular to lose him and on me. I mean, all of us have had a tough time with it. But that was one of the kind of wake up calls for me. It's like, okay, they've lost Papa. I'm Lala. Um, I need to, we don't have guarantees, but I want to stay as healthy as I can for them and for me. I still
Yeah.
have places I want to go, things I want to do. We were going to go on vacations and we did a lot of stuff, but we had a goal to go to Europe and we wanted to take the kids to Walt Disney World and stuff like that. And I still want to do that. And so that's kind of what motivated me to start looking at, you need to get back into this and get going again, get yourself back into decent shape where you can do this. So,
Yeah.
and I didn't really, even though I had kind of the knowledge, I guess one of the things that I didn't really understand and that your program helped me with was I had a basic concept on how lifting can help women because I am postmenopausal,
Mhm.
and but I learned more through through your program and didn't really kind of understand the full benefits of even like the heavier lifting. Now, I'm not saying I can do a lot of heavy lifting, but we've got the barbells and stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm working on it,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm very beginning process of it, but it has helped, just to kind of learn more about what I can do as a woman
Yeah.
and what's helpful.
That's That's really good to hear. Thank you for sharing that. And I just want to backstep a little bit. You have such a powerful motivator for why
Yeah,
started to look for some outside help, coaching, accountability.
yeah,
And yeah, I just want to applaud you for that. That's a huge one of the things that I try to tell clients is really like look for why this is important to you, right?
right.
And for you, it's to be around for your grandchildren, for your family, and that is so powerful. So yeah, applauding you
Thank
again.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, and I'm so glad to hear that the program is kind of helped you realize, the benefits of lifting heavier.
Yeah.
Um, but before we get there, would you tell us, well, I guess you already kind of told us was that why you decided to jump into lifting confidence? I know you attended the webinar that I had. Um, yeah, just tell us a little bit more about your decision to join lifting confidence and why you felt like it was the right choice for you.
Well, you and I met in our copywriting class, and so I had gotten to know you kind of through there. And I'm also an online entrepreneur, and I liked the idea of supporting, another person that was kind of going through the same crazy journey that I've been going through. But I also realized I've started really understanding the importance of accountability and
Mm,
working in a community type of setting, for the weight loss and the fitness both. And I I'm not somebody that feels comfortable with everyone when it comes to fitness. I mean, there are people that it's just their natural thing and they're really good at it, and I felt really comfortable with you. I think that's one of the main reasons. I saw what you were doing, I saw the stuff you were putting out online and the information that you had, and went to your webinar, and it's like, yeah, she's somebody that I feel like I could, you were going to understand where I came from and we're going to be patient with me on the steps and on my journey.
yeah,
And because I was just a couple of months out from losing my husband even, and so there were times when I just needed to take a break from stuff, and I just had that sense that it would be okay to work with you and that you would give me the freedom to do what I needed to do at the time.
yeah.
So
I love that. I love that you said that because that is like my whole approach to coaching.
Mhm.
This is your journey,
Mhm.
right? I'm
Right.
here to just help guide you,
Right.
but you are the one, you know your body, right? You know what
Right.
you need. I'm here to guide you and give you tools, but you ultimately, you're the decision maker here. You're going to decide if this movement feels right for you, if this structure feels right for you, if you feel like you need to modify things or progress things, or take it easy one day, right?
Right.
So thank you so much for sharing that.
Mhm.
That's just validating to me as a coach that I'm practicing, what I'm preaching basically. This is an individual journey at the end of the day. So we've got to make it work for you. So thank you.
Yeah, some people might be motivated by people being in your face and telling you, "Oh, you gotta do this and that," and I'm not. I've always been the type of person, if someone's that way, I'm gonna back off, and so your supportiveness has really been helpful and has motivated me to keep going and get going even more, and kind of ramping stuff up even
Yeah.
more, so that's been good.
I I love to hear that. Yes. I truly believe that fitness is fitting it into your current lifestyle. It is not the other way around. And the
Mhm,
coaches that think it's that way, I truly believe they have it completely backwards. So
mhm.
so yes, thank you so much for sharing that. Can you tell us what your experience, if you can think back to the first few weeks of the program, kind of what was your experience like jumping into the program and your initial thoughts, and yeah, just tell us what you were thinking, feeling, doing.
Well, I wasn't really sure how to do things exactly right, and so it was nice because you had videos in there that I could go in and watch, and then, it was funny because I was up the other day, working on more of the weight stuff because I kinda go back and forth. Sometimes I use, like, body weight more like, in my room and use bands and hand weights and things like that. Our gym is upstairs, and that's kind of the kids' space, and it's you know it's so hit and miss, how much I actually get up into the gym part of things. And when I was there, I found my list of the stuff that I had written down that, with all of the different types of movements and weight lifting and so that was helpful to me to have kind of that guideline of, okay, here's what you can work on depending on what you want to work on.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I've been really focusing on, of course, is, my knee, getting it better. And I've been doing a lot of walking and the bike and all of that. Um, but also because I've lost a lot of weight, I have like really loose skin on my arms and legs and things like that. And so it's like, okay, what can I do to focus in those areas? And so um the information that I've found through your program has helped with some of that as well. Kind of, here's what will probably work for these. So, yeah.
Yeah. Um, what she's referring to, audience, is I give a lot of options when it comes to, the program. So there is a structured fitness program in there, but you have multiple options for, multiple different exercises. So you can really make it work for you and what your setup's like. And then again, what your goals are too. So it's good to hear that set up. And then of course you have the videos as well. There's a lot of demo videos in there. So if you're not exactly sure how an exercise goes, it's right
Right.
there for you. So yeah. But it's again your individual journey. So I definitely wanted to make sure that you had those options regardless of where you're training, what your fitness level is, all of that. So
Mhm.
I love that. I love that you made it work for you.
Right.
Uh, yeah. What would you say is your biggest takeaway from lifting confidence?
Well, there's a couple. One of them is that One of them is the time thing. If you remember, I was talking to you about, "Hey, if I don't have enough time to do this," and
Mm,
you gave some options on, well, there's if you only have short time, you can do this, and if you have a little bit longer, you can do that. So that's one of the things. The whole idea of heavy lifting, like we talked about, that it is good for women as well. That was
mm,
another takeaway. And then just the motivation to do this. And I've really having that kind of that commitment that I am going to do this has really helped. And so that's another thing that I would say is a big takeaway. And then also one of the things that you talk about in I was listening to one of your podcasts just the other day, and you talk about changing it up and how once your body gets used to one thing, you need to change it up and add more or do something different.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing that I've really kind of focused on is okay, I can do this now. So now I need to go on and do a little bit more. So those are probably my top takeaways.
Good. I love that. Especially the time component thing too. That's another
Yes.
huge I feel like that's a huge, barrier for a lot of people because they feel like they're not gonna have enough time to get in an effective workout, but
Right.
yeah, just seeing like, hey, like you can still in 10 minutes, you could still do this much, like
Hmm.
not a lost workout. There's still so much that you can get out of it.
Right.
So yeah, that is awesome. Lifting, I want all women to learn how to lift heavy
Mhm.
weights. So I love that that's a huge takeaway for you as well. And in addition to that, it is again an individual journey. So lifting heavy is very relative, right? So
Oh,
your
yeah.
yes,
My heavy is not yours.
yes, it's very different from person to person, right? From woman to woman, but you're on that journey. So you're comparing, your heavy from your heavy, a month ago, right? That may
Right.
be seeing that progress there is huge as well. So thank you again for sharing
Mhm.
that. Are there any other like positive results that you'd like to share from the program? They can be small, big, in the middle, it doesn't really matter, but anything else positive that came out of taking or joining the program?
Well, I think probably one of the biggest positives is just I've shared with you a little bit with the program that I'm putting together. Um, Part of it's an online program working with diet and all of that kind of stuff and helping people in the situation where I've been, where you've gained and lost and done all of this. And I really started to realize the importance of having the fitness part of it in the movement. And I think that you helped keep me motivated on that, knowing that, okay, I made this commitment that I was going to start this. And so it's helped me to continue on. And another friend, I did a shout out to you this week,
You
and
did, yeah, I saw
yeah,
it.
and yes, and thank you. But the other gal had talked to me kind of about the walking part of it and how much it helped her. And between the two of you, it's like, yeah, that's really important to have both.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
and especially for me needing to just move and then having the strength as well. And so I think it's just having your voice in my head saying, okay, you got this, you can do it, has
Yeah.
been really a positive takeaway.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, I think accountability again is just another piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
and I feel like if more people, incorporated that, they'd maybe see some more success. And it doesn't have to be, for a long period of time.
Mhm.
But if you find you're struggling with showing up, sometimes just, adding that little layer of accountability
Right.
really makes the difference. And then walking, yes, I like just moving in general, right?
Movement. Yep.
Yeah, I love going for walks. That's like one of my favorite non-lifting ways to move,
Mhm.
right? Just going for a
Mhm.
walk, listening to a podcast, walking my dogs and stuff like that. So that's really great to hear that you're incorporating all this, this different types of movement along your journey. So thank you for sharing that. And thanks for shouting me out in your
Yeah, you
newsletter
bet.
this week. And so I was like, oh, that's so nice. um, so to wrap things up with this interview, is there any advice that you would give to any woman that's thinking about joining Lifting Confidence? We'll start with that, and then any advice to a woman in general who's like just starting their movement or lifting journey?
Um, well, first of all, I think as far as advice for starting with the lifting confidence, I would definitely recommend it. Do the I don't know when you're having your webinar where you kind of introduce it or if you've already
Yeah,
had that, but just starting and knowing that Bree is a safe place to begin with and to get going with. And so, especially if you're in a position like I am, where you really don't have a strong physical fitness background, it's a great way to get going. And even if you do, my goodness, watch some of Bree's stuff that she puts out. So I would suggest to people that if they aren't already subscribed to you, like on Instagram, and watching some of your videos, listening to your podcast so they can really see what you're doing, because to me, it's pretty phenomenal. I look at what you're doing in the gym and I'm just like, okay, now I don't know if I'll ever get there. We'll see. Maybe.
Never say
But
never. Never
never
say
say
never,
never.
Susan.
That's right. It's something that I can aspire to. Let's put it that way.
I love that.
And so that is definitely, just do it. Get going with it. Um, and then as far as um, the other question that you had, I had a great answer and it went out the window.
It's all good.
So remind me what the second part of your
Yeah,
question was.
so just any advice that you have to women in general about starting their movement journey. So whether they're
Mm.
interested in lifting weights, it could be anything, but yeah, just starting their movement journey.
Well, sometimes if you are like me and your mind plays games with you and you have the excuses for why you can't do it,
Mhm.
um, really pay attention to that and start looking at what is my brain telling me? What is it saying that is stopping me from doing it, first of all? And I we had these practice sessions with a coaching class, that it was a life coaching class that I had to do. And we were talking about some of this with one of the gals, and and one of the things she told me was, first of all, you can always do it. You can make time. There is time for you. So do it. So that's the first thing. There is time for you. Figure out when it is. And whether it's, get to bed a little bit earlier and get up 15 minutes earlier, try to get out of the house or whatever earlier than you normally would, or maybe you're more the later, go to the gym later, whatever it is. So, and then you almost have to, for some people, like I have a sense of humor and I kind of play games with myself. And I realized that part of what was stopping me from actually doing some of this was, if I waited later in the day, I wasn't going to do stuff. And
Mm,
so I needed to get going right away. But
yeah.
then that meant, okay, I did, this is going to sound crazy, Brie, but I didn't want to like get all sweaty in my good bras and things like that.
It's
But I
totally valid.
But I didn't wanna wear just crappy stuff either. So finally I was like,
Mm,
go to the store and buy yourself some new sports bras and cooler shirts and some stuff that you can just put on that you
yes.
like. And
Yeah.
and that's exactly what I did. I went and I got like 5 sets of things in the colors, because I'm a color person. I always like to say I like the rainbow through it, kind of, it looks like the rainbow threw up, that type of, you know. So I went and I bought 5 sets of T-shirts and sports bras, and then a couple sets of decent workout pants. And honestly, when I had to get up and get going, there were days when I first got started with all of this, was like, "I don't wanna do this." No, you bought those. And so,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
making that commitment to myself that you need to do this, you
Mm,
got the stuff, and that was what gave me the oomph to get out and do it. So
yeah.
whatever's stopping you from getting this fitness journey started, really be honest with yourself. Not my story, what's your story? And
Yeah.
then take a look at, what do I need to do to change that and to reframe it and to get going.
Yeah. I love that answer. A good gym fit is always a good motivator to get moving. I wanna look cute when I'm working out.
Well, at
Um,
least feel good because I'm
yes,
in color.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then, I think the overlying theme of that is sometimes when you're just getting started, you need an external motivator, right?
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
gonna come internally, but yes, analyze why, like what's stopping you and figure out what
Yep.
that external motivator is and
Yes.
make it happen.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that answer. All right, Susan, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us, for joining us today. This has been an absolute treat and an awesome conversation, as always.
Thank
um,
you.
and if you want to let people know like where they can check your stuff out and where they can connect with you, please go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. Probably one of the best ways to do is look me up on I have podcasts. My name is Susan, so Susan, and it's Balou. You can find like my website, Google me. The name of my podcast is Life Career Rewritten: Navigating the Twists and Turns of Life. So you can do that lots of different ways, but mainly if you Google me, Susan Balou, Balou, you will find me in all of the different avenues that you can take to connect. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. So yeah,
She's everywhere, people. I will
you
link
know.
everything in the show notes as well, so you can
All
connect
right.
with Susan. Thank you again, Susan, for joining us today.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you, Bree, for all of your support and help with everything.
My pleasure as well. I really hope you enjoyed that interview. There are a lot of great takeaways. It was so good hearing Susan's experience, especially as a coach. And hopefully that was insightful into what to expect out of the program if you're thinking about joining. And at the time of this recording, today is the day that I am officially opening doors for Lifting Confidence. I will be doing a couple live trainings, and the first one is actually tonight. So my free live workshop is tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're catching this before that, definitely sign up. I will link it below in the show notes if you'd like to join. This workshop is all around my 6-factor framework on creating the best fitness plan for you and your unique goals and lifestyle. I 100% believe that fitness is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's not a cookie-cutter approach. We all need to address and approach fitness in an individualized manner, and this is a workshop all around how to do that. So I'm going to give you my 6-factor framework on exactly how to do that. So if you're interested, definitely sign up for the free workshop tonight. I'm also hosting it again tomorrow in the afternoon at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you have a couple options to sign up, and I will be sharing the opportunity to join Lifting Confidence once we go through that workshop. So definitely register for the workshop first if you're interested. And yeah, definitely check out Lifting Confidence once doors are officially open. Again, I hope you enjoyed this interview. I loved the conversation that I had with Susan, and hopefully it'll did what it was supposed to do and is going to help you make the ultimate decision of whether or not Lifting Confidence is the right next fitness program for you. I will talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your week and happy training.